What was your sir? This is a Wendy's moment. I worked at Walmart for a long time in the hardware department. Had a customer call asking if we sold toilets. I said, like, toilet seats? He said, no, like actual toilets. So I said, sorry, we just sell the seats and replacement parts. No porcelain. He got all huffy and said, Jesus, what is this place? Walmart. I paused for a moment and said, yes sir, it is. Silence for a long moment. Then he said in a little voice, this isn't Home Depot. No sir, you called Walmart. Oh shit, I am so sorry. And he hung up. I laughed my ass off. Went to drive-through at a Wendy's and the person taking the order said welcome to Walmart. I was really confused and I heard laughing and he said I'm so sorry he works there too and was on autopilot. Missed opportunity for the Uno reverse card. Imagine saying, sir, this is a Wendy's as the customer. I was in Lowe's one morning right after they opened. There was a woman at the service desk having a complete meltdown yelling and screaming because Lowe's didn't have a licensed contractor there at the store for her to hire. She apparently woke up that morning and decided she needed a deck like that same day and thought she could just go to Lowe's and have someone immediately start building a deck. It was dead, so I stood with the cashier listening to the show. They ended up having to call the police to get her to leave. Work in radio. Got a call on the contest line one time. Yeah, I need a hotel room, said the caller. Okay. How would you like me to help you? Well, book me one. You're aware you called a radio station's contest line, right? Yeah. Don't you book hotel rooms for rock stars when they do a show in town? Book me one. I'm a high school teacher in Australia. I had a parent rail me out that I wasn't teaching their daughter how to do her taxes. I'm a history teacher. I had a parent rail me means something different where I come from, lol. I work as a facilities manager for a company with a few hundred locations around the country. Back at the end of 2020 I was having trouble getting in touch with a vendor we had a contract with to do some work around one of our offices. Nothing big. I figured he just ghosted us, so I began looking for another vendor who could take over the work. After 2 months of radio silence, vendor 1 calls me out of the blue and was clearly very drunk and crying at 1 p.m. on a weekday. Turns out he had gotten COVID, was hospitalized, got blood clots in both legs, and had to have them both amputated. He called me while I was at work and told me his whole life story. I ended up staying on the phone with him for about 30 to 45 minutes and I helped him track down a grief counselor. Hopefully he went. I still wonder how he's doing sometimes. I love when customers trauma dump on me. Okay sir, that will be $2.15. Yeah, my dog just died and my son was arrested. My mom's house burned down last week too. Oh, would you like a straw? A man come into my tattoo shop once and asked for a massage with a happy ending. Was like, this is a tattoo studio, not a massage parlor. And he just stood there like, yeah. I know, as if tattooists are synonymous with sexual masseuse. I was working at McDonald's and this lady said, can I get the Wendy's 4 for $4? I said, ma'am, this is a McDonald's, and without a moment's hesitation she replied, indeed it is. Can I get a Big Mac? I work for a CPA office that is in an office park with a couple doctors' offices. One day a guy came in only speaking Spanish, so I grabbed my Spanish-speaking colleague to translate. He talked to the guy in the lobby for a few minutes, then the guy left and my coworker came back and asked if that was a joke or we put someone up to that. Apparently the guy explained that his testicles were extremely swollen and painful. He was looking for one of the doctor's offices and just walked into the first building in the complex. Sir, we do taxes here, not testicles. Uber driver once had a girl I picked up from a karaoke bar that was obvious upset, distressed. Asked if she was okay. Yeah, I just did karaoke. Oh? That's pretty cool. I did a song for my dad that died a year ago. Ah, that's sweet of you. Nothing else was said until I got her home, which was only a couple blocks away. As I pulled in, this is what she said. I'm not going to give you a bad rating for this, but you could have been more emotionally available for me. I just said, I'm sorry. And had to stop myself from bursting into laughter. I felt bad for her, of course, but that was just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard from a passenger. Especially prefacing it with, I'm not gonna give you a bad rating for this, but. Second story, picked up a lady. She was distressed. I asked if I could do anything for her and she said, not unless you can take back the last 40 years of my life. It was a very silent, awkward ride. Closing shift at a Starbucks. Was like 10 p.m. at night and this couple come inside and walk up to me at the front counter saying, "The deli across the street is racist towards white people." I really had no response besides just standing there for a few seconds before saying, "Did you want to order something?" Not one specific moment, since it happened all the time when I worked at Ulta. "I'm looking for this lipstick," shows me Sephora brand lipstick. "We don't sell that. But I can show you something similar." "No, I want this specific lipstick. Don't you sell it?" "Well, where can I buy it?" "At Sephora, ma'am." I've told this story tons of times to my friends, family because it's one of my favorite Domino's stories. This happened somewhere around 2017-2018. One day it was really slow at work at Domino's. I was still a relatively new insider, only a few months into what would be about 4 years, and still in school, so I was hoping that it would stay slow so I could go home so I can cheat on my math homework, play some League of Legends, and get some sleep since my school started an hour earlier than other schools in the area. A woman, probably mid-40s, comes in to order a pizza. She's pretty chill, and we're just chatting while she's ordering because there really isn't much to do otherwise since we already cleaned the store and oven and all that. After she gets her pizza all done up, I ask her if she'd like any drinks. She's like, "Oh, what do you guys have?" I'm running down the drink options and she notices Coca-Cola and looks at me wide-eyed like she just saw someone get hit by a car. "Don't you know they put human embryos in Coke?" "I'm sorry." She then spends the next 7 minutes running down pretty much every major conspiracy, from human embryos in Coca-Cola to flat Earth to the moon landing being faked, etc. If you think of a pre-COVID conspiracy, she hit it. And she tied it all up in a neat little bow of "It's all the Jews." I'm stunlocked. The only words that can come out of my mouth are "So no on the drink." "Coke Zero please." Smiley face. I guess the zero means 0 embryos. Had a guy come into my place of work yesterday pissed off because he issued his payment date and had to pay extra to turn his phone back on. He said something along the lines of, "It was due at midnight and y'all aren't open at midnight, so how was I supposed to pay?" I calmly explained that we are open until 7:00 p.m. every day but Sunday, and he screamed, "Well, unlike you, I actually have a job. At my job. Whilst doing my job." Got one. Nice lady walks into the cinema I work in. Asks for a ticket yada yada. We start chatting a bit while I ring her up. Explain how the cinema works, etc. It was a slow day too, so I could actually do that. And that's when she asks me what hall to go to. I explain to her she has access to all of them. She can just pick wherever she goes first. Cue this. "Okay, that's great. Where's the Barbie movie in though?" "What do you mean Barbie movie?" Lady looks around. Realizes things are very fucky. Oh no, oh, I see it too now. Yeah, this isn't this kind of cinema. Let me reimburse you. Turns out she literally managed to miss every DVD rental case, the posters and interior deco of the porn cinema she walked into. Edit. I am surprised at the amount of you that didn't know porn cinemas are a thing actually. I thought they were a common thing, granted a dying one, but that they still existed. I worked in a local cafe, newsstand, convenience store type spot. We also had a Ticketmaster outlet for a bit. Our small town had an annual concert that usually ran 2 or 3 nights. It was really popular with the local folks, so it brought in a lot of foot traffic with people buying tickets. My boss was honestly a small business mastermind. That was the extent of our involvement. We sold and printed gate passes. On night 1 of the event, I was closing the store as usual, at 10 p.m. An irate woman called wanting to file a noise complaint about the concert. I was like, "Ma'am, you must have the wrong number. This is local cafe." She insisted that she was filing an official noise complaint, and demanded to speak to the owner right now 10 p.m. on a Friday. Yeah, he's not here. He also isn't the police, and doesn't deal with noise complaints. Also, it's only 10 p.m. and this concert has been widely advertised for months. She then went on a wild rant that we needed to do something about the noise, since we sold tickets. She wouldn't let me off the call, and was going berserk. I told her I was going to disconnect, since we had nothing to do with the event. Or the noise. She called back multiple times, and finally I just let the phone ring. Was still ringing when we locked up. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Delivered 2 large pizzas to a guy's apartment at 10 am on a Sunday. When I got there, he proceeded to say, "My girlfriend just dumped me." I slowly backed away and said I had more deliveries to do. I worked at Wendy's throughout high school and some lady ordered a burger meal at the drive-thru. Over an hour later she comes back to the front counter, slamming the burger on it saying it was cold. I checked our receipts and told her she ordered over an hour ago and that burgers aren't meant to stay hot for that long. She said that was absolutely unacceptable and how dare we serve her a burger that gets cold. She then proceeds to ask me for my full name and details so she could sue me, at the same time freaking out when I didn't have a pen to give her to write down my info. Another customer walking by said, "Holy shit lady, relax," and she yells at him to mind his business. He says, "Well, I just feel bad for this poor employee you're yelling at. If you don't want to eat here, go somewhere else." Bless his soul, I was only 17 and was so shook. I worked in an ice cream truck. A tweaker came up to the back, the rear doors were open, and tried to buy weed from me while I was serving customers. I had to explain to him I was not selling weed. Later on he ambushed my truck when I was leaving the park, stood in front, hit the hood a couple times with a piece of metal, and then when I was driving off, threw said metal and shattered one of the side windows on the truck. Not sure why your comment triggered this, back doors I guess. But I worked at a restaurant in a complex with several other restaurants, Inner Harbor, Baltimore. And some guy in a white chef coat asked the kitchen manager if they could borrow 10 pounds, 4.54 kilogram, of crab meat for their restaurant. This was done a lot but mostly with produce or low-end stuff between restaurants. He lent it and then the following week called to get them to give back the crab meat they borrowed and no such person or can we borrow existed. Some dude just yoked the crab meat. This story is gonna show my age for a few reasons, but when I was about 12 or 13, I saved up my allowance and neighborhood yardwork money to finally afford the newest iPod. The ones that could play videos as well. I wanted to make sure they had it at the store before I got my parents to drive me there, so I opened the phone book, found the Apple Store, and called them. Guy at Apple Store. Hello. Me. Hi, do you have the iPod video in stock? Guy. This is an Apple Store. Like. Crunch Crunch? I had called the gift shop at an apple orchard. Found the product I needed online. Drove to the store. Spent 20 minutes failing to find said product on the aisle it was supposed to be on. Showed the picture to multiple staff, none of whom recognized it. Finally went to the customer services desk and after 10 minutes of waiting in line got told the website I was looking at was one of their competitors. Edit. Aisle, because it's large store, but not a peninsula. Thanks you, Clendy. I automate dumb buildings with temperature control systems. Something I get a lot is, all of this equipment was working before you touched it. Now none of it works. The best ones, and my favorite ones, are when we get that call on a unit we haven't even touched. Unit 1? You're calling about Unit 1? Yeah. It was working fine before your guys touched it and now it's not running. Okay. Well, we started working on the other side of the building first, and we haven't begun tying into the units yet, so that unit is all on you. Oh. Literally working at a Wendy's. Guy threatens to jump over the counter and strangle me because I accidentally entered an extra kids meal on his order. I made the mistake because while he was ordering, he was simultaneously talking on his phone and poorly wrangling like 4 or 5 small children, leading him to repeat himself several times. I didn't catch that one of them was a repeat. Sure, he could, but if he goes to jail for assault he doesn't have to deal with all these kids anymore.